All right, welcome back on the conversation. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Students' Loan Act today, and of course the issues around that one. Just recently, June 12th precisely, the new president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, signed the Students' Loan Bill that has been, in the National Assembly from 2019. That was exactly the year this former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, introduced that students' loan bill into the House of Representatives. And of course, 4 years down the line, the new president, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has assented to that bill, making it the Students' Loan Act. But obviously, there are several issues to discuss around this very Students' Loan Act that has been signed, assented to by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, amongst these issues that we're talking about, we're going to be looking at today on the conversation, but I won't be doing this alone. I'll be joined by my guest on the program today to actually help us, x-ray the Students' Loan Act and, of course, all of the issues around it. I don't know if I have my guest online now. They'll be joining me virtually on the program today. Quickly now, we're going to be having Professor Godwin Demaki, PhD, FCRS, who is the chairman ASU, Delta State University, Abraka. We also have Matthias Urero, who is a doctoral fellow of the McGill University, Montreal, Canada, that will be joining the conversation this afternoon as well. And of course, we also have Comrade Samuel Anidi, who is the president, National Association of Polytechnic Students. All of these guests will be joining the conversation today to help look into the Students' Loan Act. And of course, let's understand what the act actually is and indeed look at the pros and the cons around this one so that, of course, we'll be better educated at the end of the program. So I don't know if we can have that connection established at the moment. Okay, I think I have one of my guests connected already. All right, before we actually get all of these connections coming through, several glitches coming through, but we do hope that we're able to rectify all of that as soon as possible. I'll just quickly walk us through now some of the criteria that have been ruled out by the presidency, by the government rather, on what the eligibility will be for the accessing of these student loans. So do I have someone connected now? All right, since that isn't coming through, hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, I still think the connection isn't. Yes, hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sonia. Please, Comrade Anidi Samuel.
Okay, beautiful.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. Comrade Samuel Anidi is joining us from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, this afternoon. And like I did introduce earlier, he is the President's National Association of Polytechnic Students in Nigeria. Mr. Samuel, how are you doing this afternoon? Okay, so before we get him connected right back, I was about to reel out the eligibility criteria for this loan. Okay, I think we also have Professor Demaki, the ASU chairperson from the Delta State University, connected as well. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. So once again, we have Professor Godwin Demaki, PhD, FCRS. He is the present chairperson, association, or we have the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Delta State University, Abraka. So, Professor Godwin, let me get your take on this Student Loan Act quickly before we try to get all of our other guests on board. For you, as an ASU chairperson, first off, as the association, what is ASU looking at for this Student Loan Act? Is it a welcome development? What are the reservations around this from ASU?
Categorically, it's not welcome. This has been the struggle of the union and for that, comrades have been punished with starvation what exactly is this loan for? When the university is underfunded, and then government reneges fail to implement agreement signed with the union. These are all components of the making education accessible to all Nigerians. The Nigerian Constitution is very categorical. Education at university level is free. Chapter 2, Section 18, subsection 3C is expressly stated there that university education is free. And this law is a contradiction. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. You cannot legislate to dispossess the Nigerians of their right to university education. What is that loan for? This is not the first time. Some years past, there was the education bank. What was the component of that arrangement? It was for students to borrow every year 1 million at 5% interest. So, for instance, if a student is reading a course that takes him 6 years, by the time he graduates, he's already in debt of about 8 million. And where is the job for him to pay this loan? And this is even more, this is a demonstration of academic capitalism. How does he pay the loan? Now, in this new law, there's a caveat there that if they don't pay within 2 years, they go to jail. How do you jail somebody when you have given him a loan, you do not endow him with the ability to pay back the loan? If you must give them a loan, then you must give them a job so that they can pay back. Instead, what we have now is that if they cannot pay, then within 2 years, they'll go to jail. I mean, where? And the Constitution is still there. The Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, is still explicitly stating that university education is free. So how come loan? This country is well endowed. We are endowed materially in terms of resources. What the problem also I've already been emphasizing that the problem we have is the problem of leakages. Individuals in this country are richer than this country without any visible entrepreneurial venture. They are wealthier than the country. Where is that? It's looting. The treasury is perpetually looted. As you saying that, block these loopholes. If you block these loopholes, education will be free. So this issue of loan is baseless.
Okay,
it's a violation of the Nigerian Constitution.
Okay, just 1 minute.
So that is the position of the union. And the union have not reneged. This has always been the position of the union from time, not just this law.
Okay, just 1 minute, Prof. Still hold on there, Prof. Professor Godwin Demaki. Yeah. I still want to follow up based on what you just said now that education ought to be free based on what is captured there. But a quick question. With the rates at which standardization of education is going globally, do you think free education can actually give us that quality education that we want in our tertiary institutions? So is that not contradictory?
Please come again.
Okay, I said,
please come again.
The clamor for free education rather than expensive education that will require students to seek loans. You're saying that the free education should be looked into again. But don't you think that the quality of education, talking about standard quality of education that we should be getting from tertiary institutions, don't you think nothing good comes free?
You see, the point here is this.
Okay. ASU
does not just agitate without providing solutions.
Okay.
What the union has been agitating is that this country is sufficiently endowed to the extent that education will continue to remain free. But what you find is that the treasury of the nation is being looted. And government after government, they do not take steps to block the leakages. If you block them, there will no basis for student loan. After us, they say all figures are not equal. What it only means is that even the children of the poor will not go to university. And that means the gap between the rich and poor will continue to expand geometrically. So the point we are also making is that education is a right to all Nigerians, and it's entrenched in the Constitution. Until that provision is reversed, this law is a violation of due process. The law is still subsisting. It is baseless to come with loan. When the Constitution says that education is free, although subject to availability of funds.
Okay.
Now, you cannot tell me that this country is not endowed. This country is sufficiently endowed. The problem we have is leakages. And that's why I provide solution that the only way we can do it, block it. And that's why I went further to say, okay, there are other means of even raising funding universities. You have this new digital economy. Tax this digital economy. You will have funds. You don't need to stress the poor. Yes, it is true. Some people, everybody cannot be rich at the same time. But you must provide a foundational basis for everybody, every Nigerian. So the point we are making is that there's already a subsisting law. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, stating categorically that education is free at all levels, even up to university level, although subject to availability of funds. Now the contention is that it because the government don't have funds now. That's why they will not come with a loan. How will you ask students to borrow when they don't have any means of paying back? When you graduate after 6 years, you are indebted to about 8 million. No job. If they must give them loan, give them job to pay back.
Okay, Professor Demaki, let me hold you right there. I want to quickly bring on the National Association of Polytechnic Students President. I'm talking about Comrade Samuel Anidi, who is joining us from Abuja. We've just listened to the chairperson, ASU, that's from the lecturer's angle. Now, let's take a look at what the students now, of course, the president representing polytechnic students here in Nigeria, what his thoughts are on this same Students' Loan Act. Do I have Comrade Samuel Anidi connected? He's joining in from Abuja. Yes, beautiful. Good afternoon once again. Okay, I don't know if you can unmute your mic so that we can hear you. Okay, yes. All right, go ahead, Mr. Samuel. Did you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, beautiful. So go ahead.
All right, so please just come again with your question.
Okay,
please.
yes, like I said before, you just listened to the ASU chairperson. They're also reacting to the Students' Loan Act, what they think from the lecturer's angle. Now, as a student yourself, the leader, the president of polytechnic students in the country, what do you think is the reaction from the students' corner to this Students' Loan Act that has been signed? Okay, I think we still have a poor connection coming through from Abuja. So I'll quickly join Matthias, who is joining us from Canada this afternoon on the program. Of course, we'll still go back to the ASU chairperson. So we'll just, take our guests in turns, trying to see how we can work around the reception today. Of course, the weather has been sketchy here in Nigeria. So due apologies to our viewers today on the program, and of course, our guests as well. So yes, Matthias Orero is a doctoral fellow of the McGill University, Montreal in Canada. Good afternoon once again, Matthias.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sonia. Nice to be here.
Yes, good to see you. Okay, so Orero, I want to have your take. Of course, you listened to the ASU chairperson react to this. I don't know if you did. Okay, so I want to have your take on this. Before you left the country, I'm well informed that you were a lecturer here yourself, a student, and also a lecturer here yourself. And of course, over there as well, now into all of that, still in the education sector. So tell me, what's your thoughts on the students' loan itself?
Okay, I'm going to, first of all, agree with the ASU chairperson who said earlier that there are lots of leakages in the system, and that because of that, it is difficult to really see how this student loan thing would work. First of all, how it would work in practical terms, because if there are leakages in the system, then what comes to my mind is that probably we might have a lot of corruption also that might go on with the student loan scheme, which means that we might have people getting money that they shouldn't get, under the guise of being students collecting loan. So I'm leaning towards that direction. But then again, I also want to emphasize the need for Nigeria as it is now to have some sort of credit facility, because one way we can actually reduce corruption, not completely end corruption, is when people have access to money. And the way the Nigerian financial sector works today, if you need money, you need to have the money in your account. You cannot get credits. So as opposed to in many other parts of the world where you can get a credit card and you can spend money that you do not have, with a promise to repay in the future. Nigeria doesn't have that now. So civil servants, for example, people who are employed, who need to take on big time projects, do not have access to money, and including students. Students who need urgent money for something do not have access to money. If you go to many other parts of the world as a student, even as an international student, you get a credit card, and depending on where they place you, you can have over up to $1,000 or more to spend. That money is not yours. That money belongs to the bank. Now you can spend that money, and then at the end of the month, then you repay. You don't have to repay the complete money. You can repay just a minimum amount, and then later on, then you can think about repaying the entire amount of money. So I think that Nigeria needs to have that credit facility, especially for students, because students need to be able to have access to money to buy things, if here and there, to fund their education if needs be. But the way I see the current student loan scheme, it reminds me of earlier schemes, including the one that they did where they recruited teachers in the previous administration to work. And at the end of the day, we saw that there were many people who were getting money, and the money was basically going to their personal pockets. And I fear that might happen again. So until and I know that this idea of the student loan is still in the works, is not yet finalized, but I think that if they don't cater to that kind of leakage that the ASU chairman had emphasized, then we are going to be dancing around in the same circle. But I do agree that we need some form of credit facility for students and even for civil servants, including lecturers, so that they can spend some kind of amount of money without going to get, bogus loans from cooperatives and so on and so forth. So
okay,
I'm
Matthias, I still want to take you up on this. Quickly now, Matthias, you talked about the fact now that we need to actually have this credit facility available to students, albeit not looking at the loans proper. So some clamor from some quarters now will be for grants as opposed to loans. So do you think that should be the first step the government should be looking at rather than loans? And of course, how can we actually separate both? Because do we have a system where we have both working hand in hand, that is the loans and the grants, or we should just focus rather on one first? Obviously, the federal government hasn't said anything about grants, but there are some calls from some quarters towards that. What's your reaction on that one?
Yes, this is something that is very personal to me because I'm someone who has benefited a lot from different grants. I'm in Quebec, and I'm currently a recipient of the Quebec provincial grants to do my doctoral studies. So I have benefited a lot from grants. This is not a loan. This is money given to you just to study, right? Before that, I also benefited. I think my voice is echoing. I don't know why. Okay, I'd also benefited from other sorts of grants elsewhere. And I know that in Nigeria, we have the Tedford grants. So I'm not going to completely disparage the system to say that we don't have such grants in Nigeria. We have the Tedford grant. However, I have heard instances of people who say that the process of getting the grant is not very clear and that there's a lot of politics involved when it comes to getting the Tedford grant. So access to that grant is not always very clear, and that is an issue. And it speaks to this student loan thing as well. If you're going to have a facility for students to get loans and we don't know how they are going to be selected, we don't know the modus operandi, we don't have trust in the system, we are going to just be dancing around in the same circle, and there will be a lot of corruption involved. So yes, I agree that we should have grants instead of loans, especially to students who are, doing research programs, or students who are indigent, or students who are stellar, academically stellar. We should have such grants to cater for their education. But I personally, I feel that the system needs a or people need to trust in the system. So whether we talk about loans or grants, there is still this sense of distrust because we do not trust that people who actually need these things would get them. And that is where we have to begin. We have to build that trust into the system. And when that trust has been built into the system, if you announce that we are going to have student loans today, we will not have a lot of people complaining because we are going to trust the system. But when we don't trust the system, people would complain because we are going to be dancing around the same circle. So I think that's how I would approach that issue.
All right. So Matthias, just hold on for a bit. Let's see if we can connect with the president of NAPS, Samuel Anidi. I really need to get his thoughts on all of this as well. Samuel Anidi joining us from Abuja. I don't know if we can have him connected. If he is online, maybe we could just have his...
Hello, can you hear me now? Sorry, I had an issue with my device.
Okay, that's better. Okay, so welcome once again, Samuel Anidi, President, National Association of Polytechnic Students. So yes, quickly, like I was saying, I don't know if you've been following the conversation and you've listened to what the ASU chairperson from Delta State University, Abraka, has to say on the Student Loan Act, and of course, what the other guest now just said. From your angle, representing the students now, polytechnic students, what are the thoughts coming through from the students' angle? Is it a welcome development for you, the students' loan?
Okay. Yes, the student loan is a welcome development. Yes. Why I said so is before I actually gave a consent to why we should appreciate the student loan, I first of all looked at the pattern in which the loan will be gotten. Now, I would say that the loan is meant for the poorest of the poorest. Are you getting me? For instance, for a family, for a student to have that loan, the family would have an annual income lesser than 500,000. So the loan is meant for the poor, and I think the loan will, it will transform the lives of countless Nigerian students, and give them the opportunity to pursue education, you understand, without the burden of financial constraints. And the loan is an interest-free loan. That was the first thing I looked at. If the loan is going to be additional or it's going to come with some form of interest, the loan.
Okay, good thoughts from the president of the National Association of Polytechnic Students, Samuel Anidi. I don't know if you're still on standby. Go ahead. Okay, basically now he just mentioned a very important point now, stating the fact that, of course, the loan is interest-free. So, for instance, if you need 5 million naira to complete your education, it is that same sum you're going to be paying back to the student loan, bank in due, when it is due. Okay, yes, Samuel, go ahead.
All right, now, so the loan, and you say after 2 years or after graduating from NYSC, now, they're not saying you must have a job. Even if you are self-employed, 10% of your profit. So, for instance, if as a student I graduate from the NYSC, I submit my CV for jobs, and I'm not able to get jobs within this period of time, of course, I should not sit at home. I should find something doing. If it's a business, if it's to put my skill. I'm a polytechnic president, and we encourage our students to obtain skills. Nowadays, we have soft skills, meaning skills that transcend from even using your physical hands. Skills that has to do with technologies, your ability to be able to perform something. It's a skill on the internet. I just finished my program now, where we also encourage our students to obtain skills. So if I finish my education and I have not gotten a job, whatever business I am doing, whatever thing I put my hand to do, if it brings me profit, I have to pay 10% from that profit.
How do you measure, Samuel, how do you really measure this? I know for salary earners that are going to be working after school, after NYSC, to repay the loan, it is measurable. But for those who are entrepreneurs, like you just said now, those who decide to go into trading or whatever it is they're going to be doing, how do you really measure the profit? My other guest talked about sincerity from the part of the government. Now, sincerity from the part of these students who will later on become the businessmen or salary earners or entrepreneurs. How do you measure the profits, the money that they're making from their various endeavors? Is that not going to also be a problem in the future?
There are also some reservations. Now, this reservation has to be looked at. And for instance, if it's loan, and after the end of the education, you go for NYSC, and definitely you have to declare whatever you are doing. If it's a job, you declare that this is your job and this is your salary. What business you find yourself at the end of 1 to 3 months, able to declare that your average profit. So that's why I also encouraging. If you check the publication I did on Vanguard that regards census, I made a note of 3 things. So the first one is to appreciate the president for signing the bill, because I want to believe that the president has great interest and heart. I want to create a platform for where the last resort to education will be the student loan. Will be the student loan or will be the loan for the student. And the law, the bill is not going to ensure that it's taking those who are eligible to build the forest of people, those who cannot afford education, so that the law is not misused or abused by every student. You understand? Who probably want another means of putting their business taken for the course of education, and it's not going to be taken individually. It's going to pass through the student or the dean of student affairs, which will verify every necessary detail. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
So if after 1 to 3 months, the student should be able to declare and know, okay, this is my average profit for whatever business I'm doing. If I'm rendering a service as a soft skill, I should be able to know that this is my average income. And it is 10%. Meaning if I'm earning 50,000, I should be able to be paying 5,000 every month.
Okay, Comrade Samuel, let me put you on hold for a bit, and let's see if we can return to the ASU chairperson, Delta State University, Abraka, Professor Godwin Demaki, if he's still on standby, PhD. Professor Godwin Demaki, are you still there? Professor Godwin, I don't know if we can have him connected again so that we can actually get to talk to him. Yes. Professor Godwin, I don't know if you've been following the conversation so far.
I have.
Okay, beautiful. So, sir, I want to take you up from this angle now. The chairperson ASU National now actually came through. I saw a message he put out there that's actually on the news platform saying that the students' loan itself is almost like a suicide mission for some of these students, obviously, who, like you rightly said earlier, may not even have the means to pay back afterwards. And he tried to do a comparison between what we have here in Nigeria and, of course, other developed countries outside Nigeria. But talking about the amount needed, you quoted like 5 to 8 million naira. Of course, depends on the institution and all of that. Now, let's assume the loan bill has been signed. It's already law. So what exactly can we do to actually make it workable? Is it workable at all? Or is it something that we can still maybe sit down to review? Remember that there is going to be a students' loan committee, according to the presidency, that will be set up for this purpose. So do you think probably there might be some a need to review certain angles to this loan so that it will work indeed, just as it has been meant to work from the start? Let's assume that we can have this committee come through to make this happen.
Thank you very much. These arrangements, this is not the first time. It has failed before. So we are looking at the antecedent of this kind of prescription. Like I said earlier on, there was this educational bank that was set up. Essentially, it was to provide loans to students at 5%, 1 million for a session. So depending on what you are reading, if you are reading medicine, that could be about 6 years or more. If you are reading law, about 5 years. If you are reading any other, maybe 4 years. Now, for every year, you are supposed, because this one, they did not even come out with the modalities yet, concretely. We are talking from my experience past. At that time, what was happening was that students were given 1 million per section at the interest of 5%. By the time they were graduating, depending on the year, or, I mean, their program, the years to read their program, they have accumulated about 6 million as loan. Now, the question ASU is asking, which this government and others have not answered. Do you give a loan to somebody who cannot pay and send him to jail? Now, secondly, for instance, if the intention is to help students who are indigent, from the criteria so far, it's no longer for the indigents. We know that for you to be eligible to get that loan, your parents must have an earning of about 500,000, which if you put it down to, if you break it down, that means your father or mother must be earning about 40,000 to 50,000 a month before you can be eligible to apply and qualify for that loan.
But don't you think this 700,000 naira is the highest they talked about? I think that's not that's like the benchmark, the highest. anything less than that can apply for the loan?
No, you must. There must be a documentary evidence.
Okay.
There are many of these parents who are self-employed. They don't have income. They live their daily. They live every day. Now, the essence of education, because no nation can rise above the quality of the education of its citizens.
Indeed.
We are saying that the burden of education is entirely that of government. Government cannot say they don't have funds. We have given. Let me take you back. In recent past, government came around and there was a bailout for distressed banks. These are private bourgeois, investors. Their banks ran aground. Government came to indemnify them. There was a bailout fund. So the union is saying that come and bail out the university. Provide funds. Also sign an agreement with government that for a period of 5 years, government will release 1 trillion. For every year, they will bring 220 billion. For that agitation, for that memorandum of understanding, up to now, government have not implemented it. There's a signed a memorandum of action that was in place for government to release 220 billion every year to universities. Government have defaulted. Now, how are we sure they will not default in this again? They are coming with loans. Loans how? Who will get the loan? Can we have the everybody along? Government must take everybody along. Yes. So the point we are making is that this is needless. We have made submissions. We have even made recommendations how they can even get the fund. For instance, we have told government that they can even tax the digital economy to fund the university system. Before the third fund came, it was also that proposed that companies should pay tax. It is on that. If it's on that fund now that all universities are being funded now. Otherwise, all universities would have gone under. They would have gone under like. Can you take your child to a public primary school now, or a public secondary school? That is what the university would have been if not for ASU. So this arrangement, they have tried it before and it failed, and we are saying it will still fail again. Government is not serious. No, they must show seriousness and commitment. The fundamental objective and directive principle of state policy is clearly stated categorically. Section 18, chapter 2, section 18, section 3C. It is expressly stated there. So where are we going from here to pass legislation to bring loan? Which kind of loan? When the university there in the constitution is stated clearly that government education is free at all levels.
Okay, quickly, sir. Do you also subscribe that? Okay, do you subscribe to the fact that grants rather should be encouraged, or maybe alongside the loans at the same time? Because I know, like Matthias said, there are a few of them, but not many Nigerians even have access to these grants. So do you think we should emphasize grants more?
To the point of the union, you just quoted the national president. It is suicidal. It is a recipe for chaos. This is not an alternative for development. It should be abolished. There's nothing like what kind of loan? This country is sufficiently endowed. So why are you bothering generations about loan? Where is the money going to? This country, individuals are richer than this country. If you ask them which entrepreneurial venture, you don't find any. What they do is to loot the treasury. We are saying that block the leakages. If you block it, there's enough money. We did not stop there. We went further to suggest to government how to get money. So where is this loan going to loan or what? Grant? What? That is modern slavery. These children are going into modern slavery. You are graduating now with loan over your head of 9 million, 10 million. Where do you have the money to pay? And in this situation, I'm not saying that if you don't pay within 2 years,
if you go to jail
after 2 years. So the same all the poor will go to jail.
Okay, just hold the thoughts, sir. Just hold the thoughts. I want to bring our viewers. Yes. I want to bring our viewers on the conversation right now. If you are listening or watching on Quest Television or on, of course, Quest 93.1 FM, or you're watching on the go at www.questfmtv.com, you can be part of the conversation right now by calling in 0802-2931-931. We're talking about the students' loan, the issues around the loan, and these issues are what my guests today are already x-raying at the moment. So you can be part of this one by dialing in 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon.
This is Mr. Precious calling me from McLaren.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Precious.
What I want to say, this loan granted to the students, I don't see it's not a welcome development. What the government would have done is just they should have been able to cut the expenses, the school fees that the children are paying. They should cut it down. It's too high. This will help the parents so that they can be able to afford the school fees, rather than giving loan to a student that the parents are feeding. Not every parent that can even feed themselves. Some of them have daily bread is so difficult. So you want to give loan to students. Then some of them will give loan to now they cannot even pay back after graduation. That's my take.
All right, thank you, Mr. Precious. Let's see if we can get one more call. But meanwhile, I want to connect back to Matthias Orero, who is joining us from the McGill University in Montreal, Canada. If we can have him back. But meanwhile, I also want to take more calls. Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, your name and location.
My name is Anthony from Abraka.
All right, go ahead.
I want to contribute that as the first caller has said, they should remove or reduce the cost of payment in the school, and everything that they are trying to do, they should remove everything like giving loan to people and making everything to be hard. If they cannot pay, yes, you said that they should come and take loan. Where would they get the money to pay? So for that, let them reduce the payment of the school and everything that they are doing. Let it be able so that the people can be able to pay. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Let's bring Matthias Orero back online now. Let's talk to you. So Matthias, are you there? Okay, I don't know if I can establish that connection. I would love to talk to Matthias Orero, the doctoral fellow from McGill University. Okay, good. Good to have you back. So you can hear me loud and clear, I believe? Okay,
yeah, I can hear you very well.
Okay, so from me, some of the issues we have been raising from all of you now that are part of the conversation and even the callers, I want to say trust, sincerity is one of the major factor. You know, the students' loan, as much as we want to look at it, has its advantages and, of course, its disadvantages as well. But in all of this, I think one issue that is paramount here now is the issue of trust that is still dangling, you know, in the air in all of this. Now, for you, how can we really beat this as a system, considering what you have obtainable over there? Like you said, you can have access to as much funds as you want, and you get to pay back. That means you are a responsible citizen yourself there. So there has to be some level of commitment from you, and of course, some level of commitment from the government as well. So how do we bridge this gap of trust to make this whole thing work?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, we have credit reporting agencies that really help you to be responsible, even if you don't want to be responsible. I know we also have those in Nigeria, but I don't know how important or how relevant they are and how much people really fear them or do not fear them, because I'm aware that people take loans on OPay and different other apps, and at the end of the day, people who run these apps, they go bankrupt because Nigerians just do not pay back their loans. In this kind of context where I am, credit reporting agencies are very powerful, which means that if you have a low credit score, it might be so bad you can't even rent an apartment, because some landlords, they check your credit score before they rent an apartment, before they give an apartment. So it is very important and central in terms of how you adjust in the society, because if you don't repay your loans, you will not be able to buy phones, you will not be able to rent apartments, you will not be able to get access to certain things that people should get access to. You will not be trusted. The system would not trust you for anything. And I don't think we are there yet in Nigeria. So maybe one suggestion might be for the government, instead of thinking about giving loans and not having mechanisms in place to get the loans back or whatever, the government should invest a lot in strengthening credit reporting agencies. So they should get one or multiple ones, strengthen them in such a way that they become very central to the way Nigerians operate. So if you want to get open a bank account, for example, they should do a credit report check to see your credit score before you open a bank account. If you want to rent an apartment, landlords should check your credit score. Now, this wouldn't prevent them from renting apartments to you, or it will not prevent you from opening a bank account, but it's going to signal to the person that someone somewhere is checking what they are doing. Someone somewhere has access to their, their financial history. And that is very central, that is very important, because that is the only way on the part of the people getting loans and credit facility, that is the only way they can be responsible and know that if they default on the loan, there will be consequences. Now, on the part of the government, that's another angle entirely. Nigeria currently is in a state where people do not really trust government policies and decisions and so on and so forth. And that is something that will be slow to change. It can't change overnight. No matter what the current government does, it cannot change overnight. So I think the government should invest a lot in rebuilding its public image and making Nigerians understand that, the government has a lot of concern for the people, and that the goals are very, very humane, and they are not out there to rob the people of one thing or another. That is going to be much more difficult. But if the government can reposition itself and make itself more trustworthy while investing in credit reporting bureaus and facilities, this thing can work. Not necessarily the loan itself, which we have all spoken for and against, but the fact that people can have access to credits, can have access to loans.
Okay, yeah. Matthias, unfortunately, I'll have to cut you right there. A beautiful submission, I must say. Final thoughts. I don't know if I can get the ASU chairperson in 30 seconds to just give me his final thoughts on the students' loan topic that we just had this afternoon. 30 seconds. Okay, my producer has just signaled me that I will not be able to get that one. Okay, so once again, I want to appreciate my guest who joined the conversation today, Professor Godwin Demaki, PhD, FCRS, who is the chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Delta State University, Abraka chapter. And of course, we also had Matthias Orero, who joined us from Canada. We're talking about Matthias Orero, the doctoral fellow, McGill University, Montreal, Canada. And finally, Comrade Samuel Anidi, the President's National Association of Polytechnic Students, who also joined the conversation this afternoon to look at all of the issues around the students' loan. Time is no man's friend, so unfortunately I will not be able to take any more thoughts on all of this. But for me, here on the conversation, as we wrap things up, the eligibility criteria are open. It's an open book right now. You can go on the internet, Google it, so that you can actually get to understand the eligibility criteria for all of this, the access to the loans. And let's see how government and indeed us citizens can work together in synergy to ensure that somehow, someday, we'll get to make the system a workable one. So once again, on the conversation, you can follow us up on Twitter at Okojirasonia is my personal handle, and of course, at Quest Live Online on all of the social media platforms. Till I see you again next week, same time, same station. Bye for now.